This is Jim Williams with the Hurricane City Tropical Update for October 18th, 10 a.m. Here's the track from Hurricane Wilma back in 2005, and on this date back in 2005, Wilma became a Category 1 hurricane southwest of Jamaica, and the system started cruising off to the west-northwest, and when it got right here, just north of Honduras, the system cranked up to a Category 5 hurricane with the lowest pressure ever recorded in the Atlantic Basin, 882 millibars, as this became a very powerful hurricane, winds up to 185 miles an hour. I can only imagine being hit by something like that. But the system continued moving west-northwest, hit the Yucatan, and then it came over South Florida. And we'll talk about what happened in Florida around October 24th when it came through here on that date. When that date comes up, we'll talk more about that. But that wasn't. There is a lot of history of major hurricanes developing right around this time of the year down in the Caribbean Sea. This is why we need to be vigilant down there, especially people in the state of Florida, the Yucatan Peninsula, Cuba, and even up in the Florida Panhandle. Some of these have gone up that way, but the season is not quite over yet. Let's get to the some of the images I have here this morning. First of all, we have Invest 99L. In the western Caribbean Sea. The system has been a broad area of circulation that is moving northwest and is right near the tip of Honduras and Nicaragua as a very broad area of low pressure. Let's see what the models are showing on this. We have a squash spider here as the LBAR model wants to take this north and on out, and the other models keep this down near the Nicaragua-Honduras border. And I'm having trouble with all of these models this morning because the system is kind of reorganized, has become a very broad area of circulation. In fact, it looks even subtropical, and it's continuing to move northwest. So this is going to be somewhere probably up in this location, up in here, in the next 24 to 36 hours. So all the models are initiating this wrong to begin with and having this going south. But we'll see what happens. Here is a close-up of the area of disturbed weather, and you can see that there's a general broad circulation like this, and you have a little bit of banding coming in like this, so there is a broad circulation. Generally, when you have this type of a situation, they're always usually labeled as subtropical storms because they're kind of look like an extratropical system where the winds are far away from the actual center of circulation, and then as they start to develop a little bit, it gets a little tighter in here, and then we end up with a purely tropical system. Right now, the Hurricane Center is only giving this a 30% chance because of its close interaction with land. But tomorrow they're going to be sending the hurricane hunters out there, at least tentatively. They're scheduled to have the hurricane hunters out there around 2 o'clock in the afternoon tomorrow. They may bump that up. We'll have to see about that. But they're going to be out there tomorrow. We'll keep track of what's happening and let you know what the recon finds when they get out there. Here's a visible shot of our system. And again, you can see the banding clearly. You have rotation like this. You've got bands coming in from the southwest, and so there is some sort of a circulation out in here, and we'll have to see what happens when this gets a little bit further away from land. This might actually go ahead and develop. Here's the wind shear going out 48 hours. This is going out to Wednesday evening, and right now the wind shear is pretty calm out there where potential Richard is trying to form. But if you go out 48 hours from now, you can see we have southwest wind shear. The blue areas and the green areas are unfavorable for development. You can see that goes down into the Caribbean right near the northeast tip of the Yucatan and western Cuba. The wind shear increases significantly, so this might not really be able to crank up very much. In fact, for my predictions for the week, I said this could be no more than maybe a subtropical depression, maybe subtropical storm transitioning to a tropical storm, but the wind shear is going to shred this thing apart in about 48 hours. So it's going to have a small window here to get developed. Here is the climatological averages for the Caribbean Sea, and let me zoom in just a little bit on that. I'm hoping you can see that. Actually, nope. All right, let's go ahead and show you where we're at right now. This black line right that's coming through, that is now turning into a red line, is the averages for the development of potential for development of tropical storms in the Caribbean Sea. And you can see it's at its highest point, which is late October going into November. That's the most likely time that you're going to see a tropical storm form in the Caribbean Sea. Last few days, you can see it dip down to almost zero chance of development. Now it's spiked back up again up in here, so we're about a 5% chance of development, which is above the climatological average. However, if you look at the wind shear, it's a different story. With the wind shear, you can see that the climatological average for wind shear is around 30 to 32 knots of wind shear in the Caribbean on average, which is unfavorable for development. But right now we're up here, we're around 40 knots of wind shear on average in the Caribbean, so it's not really favorable in the Caribbean right now for development. But again, this is a broad circulation, and it's in the only area in the Caribbean that has low wind shear at this time, so it might still develop. But this is just to let you know it's climatologically unfavorable for wind shear purposes anyway, but still we're at the height of the development time for the Western Caribbean Sea. All right, let's take a look at the water vapor loop of the Atlantic Basin, and you can see that we have potentially Richard trying to form here. And the reason I say that potentially is none of the models are really showing much development with this system, and I'll tell you what's happening. Again, there's a broad circulation here, but most of the models, the only model that's really trying to develop this would be the HWRF model, and that tries to turn it into a hurricane here and then circles it back southwest of Jamaica. All the other models pretty much just wash it out here near Central America. They really don't do anything with it. So it's going to be interesting to see if this development trend continues with this broad circulation moving northwest. It might actually have a chance here north of Honduras to become a named storm. And it'll be interesting to see if the models start jumping on that. But notice in the left-hand side of the shot, there's southwest winds encroaching on the Caribbean Sea. So this only has a small window here of a couple of days. And again, when if the recon goes out there tomorrow, we'll know if we have ourselves a storm brewing here, but it's going to run out of time as there's going to be wind shear that's going to come across like this. Also, on a side note, way out here in the East Atlantic, there is another system out here that the Hurricane Center is keeping an eye on, but the wind shear is ridiculous out there right now. You just don't get named storms in the East Atlantic this time of the year, and even if you did, the likelihood of them coming all the way across to the Western Basin is almost 0%. So right now we look in this whole area right here for development this time of the year. And the only area we're worried about right now is Invest 99L, and it looks like long range this would not be a threat to the United States. Anyway, this will stay trapped down in the Caribbean. All right, I'll come back with another update in a day or two if we have any development on the system. That's about it for now. Thank you again for visiting Hurricane City.